Okay, here we go on a Thursday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. So glad you're with us here on this beautiful Thursday. I'm in network control, Barry, at a not a Holiday Inn Express, I don't think.
It's a Fairfield Inn, I think. And if I were to put money on it, if I had to, I would say we're in Collierville, Tennessee. But at 1:15 in the morning when we pulled in, I wasn't all that aware, nor did I really even care that much. But yeah, it was a busy day yesterday. Troy baseball wins at Samford by a final score of 11-7. And right after the game, didn't even shower. After the game, everybody got on the bus and we headed to just outside of Memphis. We're about an hour and a half away from Jonesboro, Arkansas, where the Trojans play baseball against Arkansas State starting tomorrow night. So that's my life in a nutshell right now. On the road again.
Trying to extend that streak of not losing a baseball series.
That's right. Only team in the country that hasn't lost a single series all year long. And there's only 2 series left against Arkansas State on the road, and then next week at home against Southern Miss. Next week we'll have baseball coach Skylar Meade on from Troy to talk about things. But I can tell you, I didn't watch any of the NBA last night because I was working. But from what I can understand, on the River Region Straw Chat line, must have been pretty good last night.
Yeah, well,
the way I understand it.
I can tell you one team that's not going to win a series if they play like they played last night, but more on that later. It was a good night. It was entertaining, I will say that. This New York Knicks team, I'm telling you, they have stunned the Boston Celtics going up 2-0, both on the road, both as an underdog. And they win the game last night. They're in Boston. The Knicks, I'm telling you, they are fun to watch. They got some really cool players. Also, several of those players were featured in a really neat, kind of funny TV commercial I saw last night about their playing days at Villanova, which I thought was kind of neat.
I've seen that one. Chris the Bammer, do you want to bring up anything about a former Auburn football player who was featured in a film that just got drafted or anything? You know, we mentioned players and we mentioned video. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, this was actually professionally produced. I don't think it was done on an iPhone.
Okay,
this was a little different. Yeah,
all right.
Plus, I think everybody had their consent to film it. I'm not sure that was the case in the other person's filming either. I don't know, but just saying. But it was, I'm telling you, it was entertaining. As I mentioned, there's a couple of chats already about it. I see Chris the Bammer's trying to be a smart guy early today, but that's okay. We'll get into that a little bit later in the program here on this Thursday. But light schedule tonight in the NBA. We'll also get to that later as well. Is it a light schedule in Major League Baseball? Thursday's always known as getaway day or something?
Well, a lot of times it's not always the case, but you're right. A lot of times you finished up a series, you're trying to get back, if you're headed back home, for instance, to start a series, a weekend series on Friday. So by and large, a lot of times Thursday is a travel day. Tonight, there are 9 games in Major League Baseball, which is not a lot. There were 15 last night.
Barry, I do notice that the Braves and the Reds are playing a 4-game series. Not to jump ahead there either and get the breakdown on that game last night, but that's not regular. I mean, it happens, but you normally don't see 4-game series. I guess the mainstay is a 3-game series.
And sometimes you have 5, but very, very rarely anymore. I mean, they've changed the schedule down through the years. So
is it still 5 in minor league baseball? Do the Biscuits still play 5 at a time?
Yes, they do. And a lot of that's just because of travel. And they don't really obsess in minor league baseball over, winning your league or anything like that. It's nice. And the Biscuits have done it quite a bit to their credit here in Montgomery, but they're mostly focusing on developing players and rather than making it easy on them to
Sure. I mean, we know a lot about developing players. I mean, heck, Auburn's done an outstanding job developing quarterbacks over the last 5 or 6, 7 seasons.
Now that one's unexpected. I didn't see that one coming. Normally, any subject, and this has been a talent for a while, any subject we come up with over the years, and we've come up with, gosh, we've got to be close to 1 million now, can, in the space of 5 seconds, be referenced to Auburn. And I mean anything at all. John, what do you think about the gross national product of the Czech Republic? Well, I can tell you one thing about the Czech Republic. They ought to be calling Auburn the Czech Republic because of all the checks they keep mailing those former coaches, It's amazing.
That's a good one. Well, I got to put this one on you. I mean, I probably did not have Auburn on my brain. Well, no, I can't say that. I don't say the Auburn was not on the forefront of my mind until you suddenly kind of brought up Jarquez Hunter. So I thought, I got to start thinking about Auburn now. Yeah. And so Auburn was kind of on my brain anyway.
Well, which tells me 2 things. Number one, John is not on his second cup of coffee yet. Normally, though, the Auburn references start percolating after the first one. And number 2, it must be the slow time of the season. Every once in a while, Auburn really and Alabama have delivered pretty well in this time of the calendar year. The academic side is winding down. By this time in John's college career, somebody, his advisor or one of the new boys would have said, hey, man, you ready for finals week? And John's reaction was always, ooh. Is that next week? It's today. Okay. So we're getting to the end of the academic year. Nobody's playing football. Nobody's practicing football. We're also in the weight room, which is also one of John's favorite times of the year. But usually there's been something. A lot of times it's been Auburn. More than a fair amount of time, it's been Alabama. Heck, I want to say that Alabama hired a football coach at this time of the calendar year.
I think you're right.
1 year.
Yeah.
So we've been
it was about this time of year they make the golf circuit. Yeah, they were down in Pensacola. Yeah, it's just about the time.
Yeah. Somebody helicopters in and a noted media personality meets them in a distinctive seersucker suit, which stood the test of time, as seersucker always does. So we're ready for one of those, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Auburn,
Alabama. Spurrier put it. I wish I would have coined this phrase, Barry. It's talking season. Spurrier said that at media days one year. I'll never forget. Talking season's over. I went, it has been talking season. Yeah, he's right.
Preseason, regular season, postseason, recruiting season, talking season.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in talking season right now. There's no question about that. Not a thing going on in terms of football right now. The players you're retaining, you still might have a chance to pick up something in the bargain basement or something over there at the thrift store that you're thinking, hey, this I could wear this. This would be okay. Yeah, I've always wanted one of these. So you may have some of that. But as of right now, Alabama, Auburn, if you want to have one of your players do something dumb or make some kind of a stupid statement, I mean, you're getting ready to finish up your finals and then, you're hitting the beach. If somebody wants to, I don't know, film a half-sober video, or if somebody wants to, I don't know, take a boat ride on the dime of a booster or something like that.
That's a good one.
We find ourselves with an opening. We find ourselves wide open here in talking season.
And we'll let these college athletes know, if you're going to do something like that, some of the things Barry referenced, it's going to get a lot more run this time of year than it would in mid-October. If you're going to do something stupid, do it in mid-October because it's like 10 minutes and it's gone. Now, this will be about a 10-day thing. Can you believe those two went out on a fishing boat, and then they went to Mojo's Rims and Curb Scrapers,
and then to T-Town Menswear?
Yeah.
Golly, can you believe it?
Yeah. I mean, that lasted for almost a month.
I'm tearing up.
Yeah. Nowadays.
Yeah, that was all it was, you know.
Yeah, it was no big deal. Yeah. Earlier in the week, Barry, you mentioned that Nick Saban was going to make $41,000 a month working for the University of Alabama. I don't know in what capacity he will be working for the Crimson Tide, but he introduces presidents and, provides a lot of goodwill for the university and publicity and whatnot. Well, I see that the president has appointed Saban as the co-chair of a committee, a presidential commission, actually. There's a difference between a committee and a commission, I've found out. But he will be a part of a commission to kind of straighten out college athletics and the NIL and the transfer and all that kind of good stuff. I thought this was interesting. Our friend Kevin Skarbinski wrote about this. I was not familiar with this, Barry. Maybe you were.
All right.
The NCAA is a membership-driven association that is governed by more than 170 committees, with almost 1,800 committee members from NCAA institutions and conferences. Association-wide are comprised of individuals from all three divisions and consider the issues that affect the NCAA across the nation. You laugh, but seriously, those committees are populated by a lot of smart people with good intentions and vast amounts of experience.
Good intentions is key, yes.
Yeah,
they don't mean any harm.
No. Yet not one of those 170 plus committees has found a way to fairly and skillfully manage the transition from the quaint notion of amateurism to semi-professional model of college sports that everyone with eyes has seen coming for years. That kind of disturbed me. We've had 170 plus committees, and not one of them's been able to figure it out yet. And Nick Saban's going to swoop in as the co-chair of this committee. Yeah. And I understand his co-chairman is some prominent businessman with deep ties to college athletics. Is Jimmy Rain on this committee?
Jimmy Rain! This is totally unscripted. That's the first thing I thought of. The first thing I thought of, honestly, about that was Saban a co-chair?
Yeah.
I don't think he does anything well. Play with others, compromise, back and forth between Saban and somebody else over what direction this committee is going to take. Co-chair. Saban? Is he going to say, well, I'll defer to you on this issue. You may have a better perspective than me. I'll give you the benefit. Has he ever done that in his entire life? Has he ever had to? I don't know. On the practice field, when somebody screws up a route, does he say, well, what did you see on that one? What was your input there? Tell me a little bit about why that route you thought, okay, well, that may be a good point. I tell you what, we'll try it your way for a little while and see how it goes. Are we okay? He ain't doing that. The straw hats being thrown down. He's doing a couple of little hops in place there and a little bit of profanity and stuff. John, you can't do that when you're the co-chair of something. I don't know.
Barry,
I've got my doubts.
I'm with you there. To my knowledge, the late Clifford Roberts, the chairman of Augusta National, to my knowledge, is the only person that told a standing president, no, we're not going to do that, which, of course, was Eisenhower's desire to have that tree cut down on 17 Fairway.
Because he was tired of having his approach shot or his second shot hit that tree.
His tee shot. Actually, his tee shot
hit that. Trying to think, okay.
And Robert said, Mr. President, we're not going to cut that tree down.
Understand for context. Eisenhower was the one telling the Ruskies, look, we're going to get to the river before you guys are. Don't you cross there on your way into Berlin to go get Hitler. That'll be us, okay? Stop screwing around. But Clifford Roberts says, no, Mr. President, that tree stays.
Yeah.
This man helped engineer the greatest fighting force in the history of man and saved democracy. And he can't get a tree removed from Augusta National because some old guy in a green jacket says, no.
I think Ike finally got his way, though. That tree has been removed. I believe it was lightning struck it several years ago, and they had to remove it, which I wish they would have tried to find a way to plant something new there. I think that was really unique about that hole. But my point being, could Nick Saban have not told Trump, now look, I'll chair this thing, but I'm not having any hanger-ons. It's either me or nobody.
So now, why wouldn't speaking presidentially, why wouldn't he do that? Is there somebody else whose time and expertise and political clout is advantageous to him to say, yeah, okay, Nick, that's great, man. It gives us a lot of legitimacy to have you on there, but I also got to have this guy too. You know, I mean, who in the world could that possibly be?
I wonder, Barry, if maybe Nick Saban said, well, Mr. President, I'll be more than happy to co-chair this because I am so busy and I feel like I need to work extremely hard to earn my $41,000 a month I'm being paid by the university. So I can't devote 100% of my time to this because I'm obligated somewhere else. And then, of course, on Saturdays in the fall, I'm with the game day crew.
Well, I think he's spending most of his time in Jupiter anyway. It's interesting, though. I cannot wait. That's one of the first things that I thought of is why in the world is he a co-chair? And, of course, the second thing, like John pointed out, the other co-chair is, according to The Athletic, quote, a prominent businessman, okay, with not only ties to college athletics, but deep ties to college athletics. And it's got to be somebody amenable to Trump. Huh.
I mean, very deep pockets, closely associated with college athletics. Plus, he's been a coach on the sidelines at a game before. I mean,
I think you're on the right track. I really do.
He's your man. Do. How many of those guys have actually been on the sidelines right next to the head coach, which was Tommy Tuberville?
Maybe it was Tuberville who recommended him.
Was that the Up Yours game?
Questions. No, that was another one. Those are two separate games. Yeah.
Two different games, okay.
We got questions today. We've got a lot of answers. We always do. Some of them obvious at the conclusion of actual athletic contests. Some of them answers to society's problems. But we got answers.
We got them.
We got some questions leading up today as well. We're glad you're along with us here. Mm-hmm. Everybody on the chat line. Boy, it looks pretty full over here. Yeah. You guys have already gotten going on. He's John Longshore in Studio B?
Studio B today.
Yeah, right off of network control. I am in a Fairfield Inn in Collierville, Tennessee, and we are underway on Thursday in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Known by avid golfers as one of the most beautiful and challenging stops on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, Cambrian Ridge in Greenville lies just 40 miles from Montgomery. It is well worth the ride for any golfer looking for 27 holes of jaw-dropping golf. The greens have been redesigned to accommodate the higher green speeds associated with their installation of the latest generation of ultra-dwarf Bermuda grass. Cambrian Ridge offers a fully stocked pro shop with all the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge for tee times and more information.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
You're not buying sticks, stems, and pine cones. You're buying premium long-diddle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River region, full of color that will last all season long. Kenny has locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. Pickup is available, or your order can be delivered. They can even spread your pine straw if you like. So call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw needs. All right, welcome back in. About 20 minutes past the hour here on a Thursday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, in about 10 minutes as he joins us each and every Thursday. Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, brought to you by the Destin Connection Seafood Market at the top of the next hour. So we got that coming up today as well. Brian Reynolds from Cambrian Ridge on the RTJ Trail in the next hour as well. So we got a lot going on today here on the program.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned, crazy night last night in the NBA. You know, March Madness was not all that tremendously exciting. There was no, big time lower seed upsets in the college basketball tournament. By and large, if somebody was leading by 10 or 15 or 20 points in the college basketball men's tournament, they ended up winning the game. There were a couple of finishes that were really interesting, and the Florida Gators win it, and it was not, like one for the ages or anything like that. It was all right. I mean, I love March Madness anyway, but it was not, full of absolute, oh my gosh, can you believe that final? The NBA playoffs has been that. Oh my gosh. It has been crazy. Before this year, the NBA had never seen a 60-win team go down 2-0 in the second round of the playoffs. The playoffs expanded to 16 teams back in 1984. Since that point, if you won 60 games in the regular season, not a single one of them went down 2-0 in the second round of the playoffs. John, it's happened twice this year, and it had never happened before. First the Cavaliers, and now the Celtics.
And just how many road teams are winning, knocking, and that's what's got to happen. I mean, obviously, in those since '84, most of those teams were home teams, right out of the gate. So it's hard to win on the road. Underdogs on the road, doing extremely well. One did not do real well last night, but more on that later. But yeah, the Knicks. I was kind of had my eye on the Knicks about a month or so ago. I thought, man, this team's really good. I thought their first series before they got to the East semifinals, was very entertaining. And that went back and forth in that one as well. But it's been fun to watch. And is it Kevin Harlan that did the game last night? The Knicks Celtics game, I believe that's who it was.
I know he's doing something. I love him.
He is really good.
Gosh, yeah.
He makes, you can tell he's excited, but not overexcited. It's not like he's acting to make, like some of these guys, I think, kind of go overboard in being excited.
Gus Johnson. Oh my gosh. Joe Tessitore.
Yeah.
Did you know that, what was that Tessitore kept saying over and over again in the Georgia Tech game? That was like, no, if Georgia Tech wins it, Georgia is out of the college football playoff or something like that. Oh, my gosh. Tess, we get it. Harlan, he's got a distinctive voice. I mean, he could read the phone book and there'd be a little bit of exciting tone to it. But, yeah, he does a really good job. I'll get a chance actually to see him next month at that awards banquet that the sportscasters go to and everything. Brush with Greatness coming up for him.
Gotta get some picks.
But it was good. And we'll go over the NBA. We will tell you this in the NBA. We'll get to the tone of it a little bit later on. What exactly happened yesterday? The Nuggets They lose badly to the Thunder. They lose by 43 points. I think the Thunder scored 87 points in the first half. 87.
It was not a good night. No.
Yeah. Let's just say they cover the 10.5 by about 32 points. Knicks Celtics was amazing. Knicks win it 91-90. And again, real quick, they overcome a 20-point third quarter deficit. Absolutely nuts. So there is that in the NBA playoffs. Got to be getting some fans involved. I mean, the fans, the people who watch the NBA are going to be there no matter what. The people who are just sports fans that don't really get the NBA until the playoffs, you're getting a ton of those. But the people who just don't care about it and are looking for something to watch at night, those are the ones that are becoming NBA viewers. This comes from my friend.
Well, I'd be interested to know, are the ratings in the NBA playoffs? I know that's a different animal,
right?
But regular season NBA ratings were supposedly better than they had been in previous seasons. We've got ESPN, TNT carrying the NBA in the regular season and, of course, in the postseason.
Right.
Can't get them to seem to carry Major League Baseball in the regular season. I mean, is Major League Baseball TV on life support?
I haven't watched as much over the last 5 years or so. I haven't watched as much Major League Baseball because it just doesn't. Again, there's just not enough, honestly, for me going on. It's either a strikeout or a home run or a walk. And, there's no triples, no stand-up doubles, or not enough anyway. I don't know. We hear from Jason Jones. Love that guy.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. We're trying to hypothesize who the other co-chair of that college athletics commission with Nick Saban would be. Would it be Jimmy Rain? Jason says, and Jason, of course, is the owner-operator of Jones Medical Supply and CPAP Plus locations throughout the Wiregrass in the state of Alabama. He says the other guy is the owner of the collective at Texas Tech that sold his company for $4 billion. And Texas Tech is getting a lot of dudes because of that guy. I mean, they're paying some big-time money. That answers one question, because my other guess, if it wasn't Jimmy Rain as, quote, prominent businessman with deep ties to college athletics, it would have been Jason Jones. So, Jason, I'm just glad to know that it's not you.
Yeah, true. Good point.
We need you hanging around town a little bit.
Texas Tech, as we've pointed out, spending a ton of money. And that, I'm wondering, Barry, is that the kind of guy you want on this committee or this commission? Because to me, that's what they're trying to get away from. They're trying to get away from, just a free-for-all. We need to structure this and rein it in a little bit. Do we want to bring a guy in that's just throwing money around like it's no big deal and buying a basketball team, buying a football team? Particularly, I mean, let's just face it, Texas Tech isn't a blue blood. That's not one of the teams you think about first and foremost. This guy seems to want to turn him into a blue blood by buying a team. To me, that just doesn't – that's like oil and water.
Well, consider and I get what you're saying. I'm not disputing you. But face it, John, there have been 13 congressional hearings over the last 5 years about college sports. 13 full congressional hearings in 5 years. You know what they've done? Nothing. Not a thing. More than a dozen bills have been introduced into the at Capitol Hill. None of them have even gone to debate. Forget about being voted on. None have even reached debate on the House floor or the Senate floor. So there's a logjam of that stuff. Somebody needs to get something done. And I know what would happen if they come up with the makeup of this committee and John sees PhD in cultural anthropology.
Come on.
This gentleman has served as a head of the think tank, the congressional think tank on archaeology in rural Ecuador. John's thinking, why in the world do they have a bunch of pointy heads up there, a bunch of these eggheads? And golly, let me think of all the Longshore. They with the slide rule and the pencil protector. Why do they have them talking about what's going on in college athletics?
Mm-hmm.
You know what gets John's respect in committees like this? The money people, the people who have had success in dealing with financial issues, who have a comfort in being able to tell somebody where to get off. Shut up, man. That ain't going to work. Who do you think you are? That may work in the ivy-colored halls of Berkeley, but it ain't working here, That's what I think you probably need to try to get something moving.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how it progresses, how the speed of which it progresses, and what's the end game? What's the end product going to be? Because I think a lot of people are wanting to know that.
When we come back, Jason Caldwell will be part of this show. He's from auburnundercover.com. Always great content. And it's next in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore in McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills. For a successful stint in the great outdoors, pack accordingly. Place heavy essentials near your spine for stability in rough terrain, with light items near the bottom. Now, you may be wondering, where does the Bush Light go? In your stomach. Bush. Head for the mountains. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2023, Anheuser-Busch, Bush Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the river region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust. All right, welcome back in, everybody. About 27 minutes to the top of the hour. Really appreciate all the chats going on our River Region Straw chat line. You can get in on that at any time, Barry, because as we notice, we've got several people like Ty who's starting the chat an hour and a half before we come on the air.
Yeah, I mean, he's in at 5 in the morning or so, and we don't get on until 7. So we got a lot going on, including a visit from Jason Caldwell, auburnundercover.com on Twitter and X at ITATJason. Good morning to you. How you doing?
I'm good, guys. How about y'all?
Doing well. Boy, a lot to talk about. Plenty of content. Two things that I always enjoy. Two of many things I always enjoy. Your Monday morning quarterback column from a couple of days ago, recapping, among other things, a huge Auburn baseball series win against Tennessee, and, of course, your baseball notebook as well. So let's talk a little baseball right now. I guess one more home series remaining for the Tigers. It's this weekend against South Carolina. Appraise their positioning right now.
Yeah, pretty good position. The crazy thing about this league is that you look up and you go, you feel like you're in a great spot to put yourself in a host, side if you take care of business the last couple of weeks. But so are about 9 other teams in this league, maybe 10. I don't know. There's a lot of things still in play. When you start looking at it, I think I went through and did kind of the SEC tournament road to Hoover thing a couple of days ago. And you look, and other than Texas at the top and Missouri at the bottom, everything else is still in play. Technically, South Carolina is a team with 5 wins, but they technically could still be a team that, jumps up there and kind of makes a move into some seeding thing for the SEC tournament. Feels like the only two that are kind of out of play are Texas at the top. Even Texas, though, is Arkansas could catch them, and so there's a lot of things going on. But in the middle, between Arkansas and Mississippi State and those teams, you could have a 1,000 different scenarios that happened in these last couple of weeks.
Is there kind of a log jam there, Jason? Because you mentioned Texas, and certainly they're up there at number one, Missouri at the bottom, but everybody else kind of seems close, kind of not a lot of wiggle room. I don't know. I don't want to compare it to SEC basketball, but it kind of feels that way, that there are a lot of teams that got a chance to make some postseason in baseball.
Oh, yeah. I think you look right now, and I think because part of it, too, is part of the scheduling, who you play. And right now, if you play Missouri, then you felt like you got a pretty good shot to make some noise. And but then being 0-24, it has thrown a kink into everything in terms of final record, because normally you go, like South Carolina has 5 wins, and you go like, well, that's not very many, but it's 5. You start taking away 5 wins from teams, and you go, okay, that impacts you a little bit. When every weekend is a sweep, it has changed everything. So you look up, and I think we were talking about it and kind of looking at kind of the teams ahead of Auburn or tied with Auburn in terms of how this thing works. And you look and go, man, just about every one of them, except for Tennessee and Missouri, except for Tennessee and Vanderbilt, everybody else that's up there has played Missouri, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia. Those teams have all played Missouri. And so it has thrown extra wins into the league for everybody involved.
You take a look at the RPI, and right now Auburn, what I'm looking at, Auburn is 3rd in the nation in RPI. As a matter of fact, the top 5 teams in the RPI are from the SEC, and 6 out of 8, counting LSU, in RPI. But yet Auburn is tied for 7th in the league at 13-7. That gives a real strong example of just an absolute bone crusher the SEC is in baseball, Jason.
Yeah, it is. And I think, heading into this weekend, obviously South Carolina is not ranked, but Auburn, it's been 5 out of 6 weeks they played a top 10 opponent, not a ranked opponent. They played a top 10 opponent 5 out of 6 weeks. And then, you play Georgia Tech twice. You played Oregon State early in the year. And so you've added some of those non-conference games against ranked teams too. And so, yeah, it's added up to a schedule I think is right now the 2nd in terms of strength of schedule in the country right now. And Texas Tech's 1 as of when I looked last night. Texas Tech's 1 in strength of schedule, and they're 17-28. And so you look at how difficult the schedule is, and how sometimes that can factor in. And obviously everybody in this league, John, to your point, it's like basketball was this year. Your RPI is going to be so high because everybody in this league now is so strong. And so I think, how do you separate it? You separate it by playing a couple of teams from non-conference that are ranked. And again, not missing Missouri is probably going to end up being a big RPI deal. It may hurt you in terms of overall wins, but I think it's something that's going to play a part too as well.
I'm not sure if we talked about it last week or not. I got a couple of things here about Auburn specifically and the way the season has played out. Would Auburn be as competitive and as successful as they have been if Ike Irish hadn't been okay with moving to right field? How has that worked out, or moving to the outfield?
I think it's been a big deal. And I think the injury opened up the door to some of that as well.
Yeah.
But, man, Ike has done a great job of just going, hey, I'll do whatever it takes to help this team win. And you saw some of that last weekend at Tennessee, where he's stealing bases and kind of becoming a guy that, does some of those things just to help a team win. Defense has gotten better throughout a runner at the plate. And so I think that selflessness, as I mentioned earlier this week, I think it's been a huge part of this team, because you go, hey, look, that guy right there is, likely going to be a first-round pick, and he's doing whatever it takes to help this team win.
The other thing is you're looking now And, of course, I was doing heavy preparation on Auburn earlier in the year. It seems to me that a lot of the guys, a lot of the pitchers, Jason, that are pitching really critical portions of the game and playing really critical roles down the stretch weren't guys who were necessarily fully in the mix at the beginning of the year. Am I right?
Yeah, a little bit. Christian Chatterton's come back into the rotation, but he was the guy that was in the rotation earlier. And so he's gone from rotation midweek, kind of finding your groove, and then now back in the rotation. So he was a guy early in the year that they thought was going to be a weekend guy. But it's taken some other guys. I mean, Carson Myers is a guy that's really stepped up and become a bigger part of this thing out of the bullpen. And I think you look and, they thought Cade Fisher was going to be a weekend answer, and it hasn't been that way, but he moves to the bullpen last week and gives them 4 really big innings out of the bullpen and pitches well. And so they kind of had guys kind of the same thing as like Irish going, hey, what do we need to do to help you win? And, Ryan Hetzler's probably been the biggest part of that as a closer, a guy that they brought in going, hey, let's see if we can find a role for him. And he was a closer at Cal Baptist, and he's translated and done a really good job this year.
Jason, to transition to football a little bit, I was asked about this earlier in the week, and when you finally get your helmet scheduled, to me personally, I can see things a little clearer, or I think I can. And looking at Auburn's schedule, I like how it sets up out of the gate with Baylor, Ball State, and South Alabama, but then they get into that stretch where they're at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, and then have Georgia at home after that. To me, that's the meat of the schedule there for Auburn. I think we're going to know what type of team Hugh Freeze has after that 3-game slate, because after that, Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Mercer certainly look like teams Auburn will be a favorite against, teams that they can beat. Alabama at the end of the year, as always. But your thoughts about how Auburn's schedule sets up and how important it is to get past that 3-game gauntlet there on the road at Oklahoma and Texas A&M, and then hosting Georgia after that.
Yeah, we're been kind of kidding about it, but it's Auburn's Big 12, schedule to start with Baylor, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. You get a Big 12 field, and they're all on the road, and so it's the unbalanced part of the schedule is a thing that has been probably as worrisome as anything. I won't say worrisome, but it's been probably frustrating to folks because last year you have all those games at home and you have no home games in the whole month of October. This year you go and you play the road game at Baylor, but then you get right out of the gate road trips to Texas A&M and Oklahoma. And so now you look up and you go, well, you get a couple of non-conference games, but your first 3 games against Power 5 opponents are all away from home. And so it still feels like it's a little unbalanced, and there's no way to do it when you have 16 teams, and it's just not going to work out. But I like getting out of the gate for this team and kind of taking care of business. And Baylor's going to be a tough trip on a Friday night out there. Yeah. It's going to be a difficult game. You can get through that one and win those 2 at home and have a chance to build a little momentum. Then I think that would be big for this team. Like you said, as you take on that next 3, that will absolutely, in my mind, set the tone for what happens in 2025.
I also enjoyed your in-depth piece on Trent Seaborn. I remember really well in the 7A title game a couple of years back. This little 8th grader at quarterback running around like he weighed about $110 or something like that. And he's, standing in the pocket and making clutch throws, and he looks in charge as an 8th grader. Number one, I would have never thought that an 8th grader could lead in 7A in Alabama could lead somebody to a state championship. And number two, I never thought Trent Seaborn would ever get to 205 pounds in his life. But he's there and he's done it. How valid of a prospect is he? What is he about to enter his senior year?
Yeah, no, just junior year. Yeah, he's just 2027, so he's still got 2 years left. No, I think when you look at it, and especially because you look at the guys that have been successful at quarterback, quick release. He's a guy that had some running game last year at the end of the year. I think you look at whether it be Dylan Gabriel or look at other guys who've been really successful with, hey, you can run some. They're not the biggest guy in the world, but they're guys that can make quick decisions and put the football on target. I think that's what he does really well. And, won a state championship again last year and did it by running the ball some. So I think that's a part of his game he's added now. And, bigger and stronger. And like I said, he's never going to be 6'5", 250, but he's gotten to be big enough to where you go, that guy can go out there and do some things running the football as well.
And his relationship with Auburn?
Good. I mean, he's been down several times. And, obviously that's a school now that Auburn has gotten some hooks into with Caleb Harris and Anquan Fagans, Jared Smith, and got a couple of walk-on kickers. Now John Allen McGuire's a punter here at Auburn as well. And so now they've gotten some hooks into Thompson. And so because of that, you start to build a little bit of relationship and familiarity at a school.
Bruce Pearl's roster for next year, is it solidified? Is it done, or is it still a work in progress?
Still to be determined, like most everybody else is. I think they'd still like to add a big. And, they looked at the kid from Louisville. He ended up signing with Ole Miss. And so I think they're still on the search for another bigger body to give them some more depth inside. And I think it's needed. I think they need you are not going to find a Dylan Caldwell athletic guy, but I think you need somebody that size to give you a little bit more bulk in the middle. And, if you find a guy that can run and step up and shoot it, I kind of liken it to the Chicago Bulls, 96 through whatever, that you got pieces that can score. Can you find Bill Winnington? Can you find Luke Longley? Can you find a guy like that? Bill Purdue, Bill Cartwright, they had a run of them.
They did.
Can you find a guy like that, though, that you can say, hey, look, go get rebounds, play interior defense, and when somebody leaves you open from 12 feet, make a shot. If Auburn can find that guy, I think it would be valuable. I don't know if you can. I don't know if that guy's out there. But that feels like, to me, that's the last piece for them, obviously in making sure that you get to Todd Pettiford back as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that a lot of you mentioned, just about every school's in this position trying to solidify their roster. And then I read somewhere the other day, there's a way too early preseason top 25 poll. I'm thinking, how do you do that? You don't even know who's on the team.
You don't. You just do it because you know somebody will look at it. And it's not going to be me. I'm not looking at one of those. I don't care about it. Hey, you can't even do that for football. And so you're talking about the helmet schedule. I don't even know who's on each team. It'd take me months to kind of figure out who's on everybody's roster. And for basketball, no chance. And so it's just, hey, this team's usually pretty good. They got a few players. I'll put them up there, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. The baseball regular season is wrapping up. There's postseason in softball. Philip's written a lot about that. Characterize Auburn's chances in an NCAA berth in softball, Jason.
Yeah, I think you mentioned RPI. I think that's where they'll be in really good shape. And we've seen it, I don't know, the past 3 or 4 years, pretty much everybody that plays softball in the Southeastern Conference gets in the NCAA tournament. And so you look at Auburn, they got a pretty good resume. Once again, schedule-wise, they had a pretty difficult run, right out of the gate. Had to play Texas and in Florida in 2 of those series, and had to go to a much improved Mississippi State. Had Texas A&M, who's the number 1 team, and so they had their share of difficulty as well. But kind of on the back end, they played pretty well. So I think they'll be a 2 seed. In a regional when this announced. I think it's Sunday night. Theirs comes out, and so I think they'll be a 2 seed. And if you had to bet money on where an Auburn team that doesn't host will be sent, it would be Tallahassee. So I'll go ahead and just say that my guess would be Auburn winds up in Tallahassee to play softball. And if it's not there, probably Clemson. So that would be the 2 spots. I think I would guess one of those 2 spots when they hear that name called.
Been some interesting action over in Athens with the softball. It's been some fun games.
It has been. Will your schedule allow you to sneak over to the Auburn University Club on Monday, Jason?
I'll be out there pretty much every day. I think I've done it the last few years, whether it be men or women, when they're hosting, and so get a chance to go. So I'll get a chance to get my exercise in and walk and take the camera with me and get some photos. And so we'll have coverage of the regional there as Nick Kleinert and the men's team tries to get back and defend the NCAA championship that they won a season ago. So we'll be out there next week for sure.
You know, I with all the transient nature of college athletics or in high school athletics, sometimes I lose perspective. Everybody, I would have sworn Trent Seaborn was a senior by now. I would have not guessed in a million years. Jackson Coivin's only a sophomore. I've read so much about him and how well he's played golf for Auburn. I figured he'd been there for quite a while. He's really something.
Just a sophomore, and will likely have enough PGA points. If he wanted to turn pro, he could do that. But he and both Nick Kleiner say like he plans to at least come back for a junior year. And we saw Luke Clanton at Florida State stay an extra year and play again. And so it's one of those things where I think it's been a really benefit to college golf that they've done this, because it has allowed guys to stay in school because they don't have to worry about chasing, because they know they're going to have a spot. So Jackson Coivin, once he gets to that number, knows that when his time is ready and when he's ready to make that move, he will have his PGA Tour card. And so, he's become a guy that has made a cut on PGA Tour, has played well. And so I think because of that, he's become a guy that, you heard a lot about, and only just a sophomore.
How about that?
God, that is amazing. All right, Jason, let our viewers and listeners know how they can get more involved with what you do there at Auburn Undercover, and how many, and all the ways that they can find you.
Yeah, you can check us out, auburnundercover.com, all the social media platforms, all those things, YouTube page as well. They can follow me on Twitter at ITATJason. And like I said, find us at auburnundercover.com, part of a 24/7 network. And like I said, busy weekend. Baseball series starts tonight. Moved it up to 6 o'clock for those that hadn't seen it. It was originally scheduled for 7, moved it up to 6, as of course you get this time of year and you get to the baseball series, and that means a bunch of rain coming in. And so hopefully can get baseball games in this weekend and head towards the home stretch here. But softball, selection show coming out this weekend. Football recruiting. Okay. Heck, we're a week away from, I don't know, a dozen or more official visits next weekend for Auburn football as that starts. And right now we're over 50 that they'll have, and we think they may get close to 70 official visits before the summer is over with. And that's now the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. Boy, isn't it?
That's a lot. Wow. That's a lot to say grace over. Thanks so much, Jason. We always appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, joining us here today on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. We always appreciate his contribution. Quick break. When we get back, a little recap. I got a couple of questions about what we discussed there in that segment with Jason before we bring Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, on at the top of the next hour.
Yeah, it's about 12 minutes, about 8 minutes from now. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, Marianne is joining me from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry in Pepper Tree on Vaughn Road. And Marianne, the month of May is here. So many great things going on. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's May already. So many exciting things. We've got Mother's Day, graduations, weddings, showers, you name it. In May, we've got it. It's a jam-packed holiday-filled month, and we are ready to go to help you at Marguerite's, because it is Earring Fest coupled with the rest of that. So what better way to help celebrate the lady in your life or the person in your life than beautiful earrings? Because, earrings, you don't have to worry about what size. They all fit.
They do all fit. You're right about that. With Mother's Day fast approaching, Earring Fest would be a great way to show Mom how much you appreciate her and love her, and so many different earring styles to choose from. Graduation gifts for the high school and college graduate as well. May seems to be a month that people like to pop the question as well. So you got that going on. And we can't forget, Marianne, birthstone emerald. I think I'm right on that for May.
Great job. Yes. I almost forgot. How dare I? Yes. Well played there, sir. It is emerald. So beautiful gemstone, lots of beautiful hues of green. We've got them in store at Marguerite's. Earrings, necklaces, rings, you've got it. So for all the May babies out there, you've got a great birthstone. Make sure that the person you love knows that you love those beautiful green emeralds.
Well, we know Marguerite's is open 7 days a week. Tell us where you're located and your hours of operation.
Sure. We're at 8163 Vaughn Road in the Pepper Tree Shopping Center, 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
May is going to be fantastic at Marguerite's. Make sure you go by and see him. Thank you so much, Marianne.
Thanks.
All right, we got a couple of minutes to the top of the hour, 5 or 6 minutes before Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, brought to you by the Destin Connection Seafood Market, joins us. As we were talking to Jason about a variety of topics, always very, very interesting. Man, we touched just about everything we could involving Auburn athletics. You mentioned, Barry, the young man at Thompson, the quarterback, Trent Seaborn.
Yes.
Certainly have heard about him. First thing that entered my mind, Barry, when you asked Jason about visits to Auburn, interest in Auburn, things of that nature, well, of course, was quarterback development. I mean, maybe that's what's drawing him to Auburn. But this young man, since he started since he was an 8th grader, maybe he just doesn't need a lot of developing. He's already gotten it.
No. Everybody needs development. Everybody needs. It's kind of like that Stephen Bishop song. I think everybody needs love. He needs development. That's not it.
No. Family.
He will. It'll come down to development, sure, but it'll also come down to money and all that kind of stuff as well.
Is he the young man that turned down like a 7-figure deal? A high school player? Didn't I read something a ways back that somebody
maybe it was, but there was another guy, and since you bring that up, and a lot of John's questions to me are off the top of his head, and I'm thinking, I heard about that. It was another kid from Thompson who committed to Alabama and then was going to transfer out before he enrolled because he got something from somewhere, and I can't think of his name. He may have gotten it, may have been Seaborn, but I remember it being somebody, it happening to somebody else who's actually out in college, and I think he is in Alabama, if I can remember correctly. So I don't know where he ends up. He's a kid, he's not originally from Alabama. He's a lot like Tua and Tolia. They really, nationwide, the city of Alabaster, Alabama must be held in high regard as a wonderful place to live, because a lot of people have relocated to Alabaster from all over the place, just simply because of the quality of life and the quality of education and stuff, I guess. But he is definitely. I
just find it interesting, Barry. When I first heard about this young man, and I'm going to get Rodney's thoughts about him as well here in a couple of minutes. To just, I don't want to say breeze in, but to step into the quarterback role, the starting quarterback, and probably the largest, most developed, closest thing to a college program in the state of Alabama as an 8th grader. I mean, I've got to think, was there nobody else on the quarterback depth chart that was a junior or a senior? And this 8th grader swoops in and wins the job. I mean, I'm thinking of myself as an 8th grader at Cloverdale Junior High School and who the starting quarterback at Jeff Davis was that year as a senior. And I'm thinking, no way. I mean, this guy was light years ahead of everybody else. That's remarkable. That is amazing.
It is.
To me.
And the kid, I mean, if you saw him out there, I mean, his helmet's rattling around on his little head, and in 7A, I mean, heck, you know what that level of football is like. You've been in it. I mean, you got 290-pound D tackles that can move. You've got linebackers who'll knock your head off at 230. And so here's this little 115-pound kid that's, 14 years old. He has to have his mom and dad pick him up from practice because he ain't got his license yet. And he's doing all that stuff. I get it if he's at like Wilcox Academy or if he's at Lee Scott or something. He's at Thompson doing that stuff. So, I haven't seen him. I didn't watch the state championship game last year for whatever reason, but I haven't seen him but maybe 1 or 2 times since. But to think of him as 6'1", 205, and He's got 2 more high school football seasons to go unless he reclassifies or something like that. This could be a program changer kind of quarterback for somebody.
And I would happen to take it upon myself to Google him and look him up. 4.2 GPA. Wow.
You take John and me, our high school GPA, you add it together, and it might just brush 4.2.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. That kid's got his stuff together.
No doubt. And to do it as an 8th grader, to come in and start like that is absolutely incredible. And there you go. I remember when this happened. It was it took the high school football world by storm here in the state, and I'm sure elsewhere. But for an 8th grader to come in and do that
at that level, and you're right about Thompson. You got Thompson, you got Central Phoenix City, Clay Chalkville, Hoover. You look at some of those schools, and I guarantee you there's group of 5 colleges in the country. Think, man, golly, I'd like to have those resources. It's an interesting story to follow, and it'll go for another couple of years.
I believe our man Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, joining us here today, as he does each and every Thursday, brought to you exclusively by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market. The freshest seafood arriving daily from the Gulf of America to the Destin Connection showcases there on Norman Bridge Road. Call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup, 288-4272. I do that quite a bit, particularly for that grilled grouper po' boy that I highly recommend. Any seafood item in the showcase, they can prepare for you, or you can pick it up yourself, take it home, and prepare it as you like. I'm telling you, everything under the sea, it's there, except the jellyfish.
No jellyfish,
No jellyfish at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road. Rodney, thank you for joining us today. Barry and I were just discussing a young man at Thompson High School, Trent Seaborn, the quarterback there. I'd like to get your take on him, and how does an 8th grader roll in and start at a program that big?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he did some things that has done some things that have turned heads all over the country, actually. Supposedly, John and Barry, he turned down a potential 7-figure opportunity to transfer to another school. That's the story, or I don't know if it was exactly 7 figures, but it was somewhere near there.
Whoa.
But no, I mean, honestly, to see a kid that at that age that he was when they won the state championship, when he came in and did what he did, that's pretty phenomenal, on this level of high school football, especially when you're talking about, at Thompson, where there's a lot of competition, and the competition they face is certainly outstanding.
Yeah, it is. You know what I thought of, and I can't believe this will be the second time this week we have mentioned his name. I remember many years ago covering college football on a day-to-day basis and watching an Alabama quarterback named Gary Hollingsworth. Now, I don't know exactly what the numbers are. I'm not going to look it up, but Gary Hollingsworth, I think he was, what did we say? He's from Hamilton, right, John? Is that what you were saying? Yeah.
Off I-22.
At Hamilton. Well, it wasn't even an I-22 when he was playing. But, Rodney, he looked to me like he was about 6'4", about 160. But he was tough nut. I mean, he stands in there in the pocket. I remember him in the Iron Bowl. He took some shots and kept popping right up. And you look at kids, and I'm thinking, boy, that guy's not physically ready, just like I was thinking about Seaborn running around as like a 120-pound freshman, thinking he's not physically ready, but it made plays. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. No, he is. Again, I think the one thing that, and I'm not being critical of him at all. I mean, but I think the one thing that some people have looked at is his size, and I think he's gotten bigger. I mean, I think he's supposedly up over 6 feet tall, just about, and he's filled out some. How big he'll get, I don't really know. But you know what? And I'm not comparing him to Bryce Young, but when people use size as something of a measuring stick, I get that to an extent. But let me tell you, Bryce Young was 5'10", and when he got here, he might have weighed 175. Maybe. And you saw what happened. He ended up the first pick of the NFL draft. Now, again, I understand I'm not comparing him to Trent Seaborn, but I'm just saying size-wise, I don't think that necessarily eliminates Trent Seaborn from being an outstanding college player.
What is his strength? Is he a runner? Is he a thrower?
No, he's a passer. I mean, I think he's got enough, obviously, mobility to do some things to keep plays alive. And but he's a passer. He's a really smart kid. I mean, obviously, he plays in a great system. He plays with great players around him, but he has great coaching too. Mark Freeman, they do an incredible job, there at Thompson High School. They've got all the tools around him. But again, I say that, but he can come in and be the guy that kind of the straw that stirs the drink, so to speak. Now, how he exactly translates on the next level, in college, again, that remains to be seen.
Yeah. Rodney, when we talked to you last Thursday morning, the Alabama commencement was set for that night with the president. We knew Saban was going to speak. From a purely Alabama perspective, how do you think that played out in terms of advancing Alabama's or embellishing Alabama's brand as a university and as a athletic program?
To have the president speak?
The whole presentation. Saban there, him and Trump, buddy, and all that.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I liked it. I thought it was fantastic. Thought it was great exposure. John and Barry, when I start getting text messages from Texas and asking me all these questions about, hey, I know it's it's been successful. So I got a lot of text messages from people in Texas talking about that, how they recognized it, saw it on the internet, and so forth, and thought it was a fantastic deal. But I thought it was well done. Just having Saban come in and the way he, introduced the president and the way the president, handled himself there. I did have to laugh, guys. I got to admit, when President Trump was talking about Nick Saban being a great coach, and he said, "Let's bring him back." And then I think he realized what he said. He said, "Oh, you got a great one here now." I mean, that really is vintage Trump. Sometimes he can say things that maybe he should have thought about first. But I did have to laugh at that. I thought that was one of the good moments just to kind of laugh at.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, Trump wanting Saban to enter the arena ahead of him, I thought was kind of a nice gesture on the president's part.
And then Saban saying that he felt like he was the opening act for the Rolling Stones. I thought that was kind of funny. But, I think the one thing, though, from this is, and I know there's been some people, Stuart Mandel, for example, one of the national writers, has been really critical of this. But, look, we all understand there needs to be some guardrails. There needs to be some rules now. And I think from this, the meeting that Saban and Trump had, I think Saban had a lot of influence on the president in terms of this commission that he is now establishing to study college athletics and how to get some guardrails and rules and all of these things. I can't understand why anyone would say, this is something we don't want, because it is in need right now, I think, in college athletics.
No doubt about it. I'm with you. Barry brought up an interesting point, though, Rodney. Saban is the co-chair of this commission. I don't see Saban being the co of anything.
Well, that'll just show you. I did not read that, but he is the co-chair. Is that right?
They're forming a committee. They haven't named the other co-chair, which was my other question. But Trump, that's what Trump wants. He has offered Saban a position as a co-chair on whatever the commission will consist of.
Well, and I think too, look, Nick Saban understands the problems and the issues as well or better than anyone. Let's just be honest. He has he has a great read on the whole situation. He experienced it. He understands it and all of those things. I think his influence and his wisdom in that, having him on that commission. Now, whether or not somebody can coexist there.
Well, the first thing I thought of was originally it was Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk were going to co-chair Doge. And Ramaswamy, after about a week into it, figured out, I don't think I'm going to have a lot of say-so here. Maybe that'll happen here as well. And this co-chair will move on, and Saban will be the chair, as Musk is for Doge. I don't know. That's the first thing that kind of came to mind. I'm just not sure you can do it with two. I mean, it's like two quarterbacks. If you got two, you don't have one.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that will exist or coexist, if you will, pardon the pun, but we'll see. Of course, right, as you can imagine, we started talking about a young man that's going to be a hot prospect in a couple of years, and my phone is blowing up. Ask Rodney Alabama's position with Trent Seaborn. Is it too soon?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't. Again, that's going to be really interesting, because I think when you look at what Alabama, the way they're going to recruit quarterbacks and receivers and skilled people, they're going to be in on a lot of guys. How they feel he fits in, I guess, really remains to be seen over the course of time. But I think when you look at Alabama, they're going to be in on the elite of the elite quarterbacks. That's just the way they're going to recruit. And they're going to attract those guys with Kalen DeBoer's offense, and Ryan Grubb here now. So I think that, time will tell, John. You don't want to say that anything definitive right now. I think the best thing is let's just see how that plays out.
Right. Well, in that note as well, it leads into my next question. Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com had posted something for his subscribers and his forum members about 5 keys for Alabama in 2025, and I agree with all 5. The second one really kind of piqued my interest because I hadn't thought about it in the perspective that Rodney presented it, and that's consistency in performance. Rodney points out, beat Georgia, lose the next week to Vanderbilt, beat a tough South Carolina team, lose to Tennessee, turn the corner against LSU, lay an egg at Oklahoma, and then all of that. How do you feel about that as far as the root causes of some of the difficulties last year, and how do you address it? How does Alabama address it this year?
Well, we've been through a lot of these first years, a lot of these transitions, and I think this was the most difficult, probably, transition since Perkins came in for Coach Brian, obviously. So a lot of changes, a lot of things happen in that first year. That's where you just say, okay, give them the benefit of the doubt, obviously. Right. I mean, it's so much. But I think that's going to be one of the things. And I listed quarterback play first, but I really think that the thing I'll probably be watching the most is that consistency in performance. How do you respond week to week? It's a grind. And again, you got to say, I'm not trying to be critical at all of coming from the Pac-12. That's not what I'm saying. But we understand there is a difference between the Pac-12 and the SEC week to week. Okay. So you can beat Oregon one week, and then you might play whoever that's obviously not really that good. And, you can have a so-so game. That's hard to do in the SEC. I mean, it's hard to go through the grind, not competing at a really high level. You're not going to be peak every week, but you got to be near your peak just about every week in the SEC, because if you let your guard down, you know what's going to happen. All of these teams are capable. So I think that's the one thing, John and Barry, that I'm really going to be watching is how do they perform week to week?
Do you think, Rodney, that surprised Kalen DeBoer maybe that, you got to be ready every week. And, the Vanderbilts and the Oklahomas, you can be big favorites, but if you're not ready, they can beat you. You're right. I'm not sure that happens in the Pac-12 every now and then, but do you get the sense that this staff, and particularly DeBoer, has realized, man, there's not a layup any week in this league?
Right. Well, I think one thing is for sure. When you haven't experienced it, when you don't understand it, is on a first, on a basis where you've experienced it, then it's tough to kind of have that knowledge. But I think now, going through this year, I think they've learned a ton. I think they've learned a lot about how Alabama fans react or overreact. And I say overreact, I probably shouldn't use that word, but to a loss.
Oh, no, I think that's probably a pretty good word.
Yeah. I mean, when you, I do think they were, I don't want to say they were surprised as much as they just had not experienced it. But I will say this, I bet you they were a little surprised based on a few things I heard, that just the way the response is when you lose. And I mean, listen, it's not about just losing. All of a sudden, when you lose here, it's everything. It's, how does the coach dress? Right?
Yeah, on the Fox Nation series, Rodney, that I mentioned that I watched that they had on, I think it's still up there. Coach DeBoer's wife made a similar comment about that, about what it's like after a loss. I don't think they were really prepared for the magnitude of fan opinion after a loss. Maybe that's a nice way to put it.
Well, let me say this, John. I'll never forget when he flies in to Tuscaloosa. It's kind of similar to when Saban flew in. A lot of fans out there, not as many, but there were a lot of fans out there to greet him that Friday night when he flew in. And I see him and his wife, they're getting off the plane. They come out, they start greeting the fans and high-fiving and all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, that poor guy, he doesn't really know right now that these people on that other side of the fence, they're really happy right now. But you lose to Vanderbilt and you see how they respond then. I mean, so I think it's a learning experience for sure.
Well, and plus, along those same lines, I mean, the fan base is tough. The expectations are almost impossibly high for success. But on the other side, they give you everything you need to succeed. I remember I think it was the same series John was talking about when DeBoer's wife, and I can't remember her name, she was talking about, John, she was shopping somewhere, and Kalen called her and says, hey, get something packed up. We're leaving for Tuscaloosa now. We're taking the Alabama job. There's so many expectations, and there's so much involved besides football and being the head coach at Alabama, but people still drop everything to take that job.
Yeah, I mean, again, I was just talking to someone last night. I said, we were talking about DeBoer and the situation he faces, and really the job that he accepted. I mean, he could have stayed at Washington where they loved him. I mean, listen, he was growing a legend there already, 25-3 in 2 years, and he would have made just as much money, John and Barry, without the headaches. But for him to kind of take that job, I mean, listen. And we've talked about this. I think Kalen DeBoer had a knowledge that Nick Saban was going to step down for a long time. Okay, there's a reason Kalen DeBoer didn't sign that extension that he had on his table for so many months. So, I mean, I think this was something that was well thought out. And the longer you have time to think about something, the easier it is to get intimidated. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And you start, if they approach you and they say, hey, you want the Alabama job, and you got 48 hours to decide, wow, you're just, but if you start thinking about it for a while, you say, man, do I really want to replace this guy? So what I'm really saying is, I think there's something about Kalen DeBoer that even though he does it in a different way, that he has what it takes to be successful here. Now, again, only time will tell.
Rodney, somebody asked me this earlier in the week, and I mentioned, I said, if I can remember it, I'll ask Rodney. Ryan Williams, a lot of rumors throughout the offseason. What have you heard in terms of whether it's rumor or just, you might have some knowledge that somebody did make an offer, just these incredible amounts of money to get him to transfer to another school?
Yeah. I was a little worried, John, you were going to ask me about him painting his fingernails.
Yeah, for some reason, again, that's another thing people fixate on when your team doesn't win,
Yeah. But, Listen, I'm sure that Ryan Williams had a ton of offers. Specifics, I haven't heard really about that, but I'd be shocked if he didn't have, opportunities. There was a little thing behind the scenes. I don't know how legit it was that Texas was trying to make a run.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Now again, I that wouldn't surprise me either. So that's possible. Now I do know there are players, and I do know one specifically, but given the contact that I have, I can't mention the name.
Sure,
but
okay.
there is a player that it was you could call him a backup player that was offered $2 million. $2 million for the next 2 years to transfer to another SEC school. That's kind of what these coaches are dealing with on a daily basis. And I say daily, it's daily. I mean, it's roster retention, all of those things. It's just, honestly, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you manage it.
This is $2 million. These are American dollars. These are 2 million of them.
$2 million, and he decided to stay at Alabama, John and Barry, for considerably less. How much less, I don't know. But it from my understanding is it could have made double it somewhere else. And
Rodney, the first thing that comes to mind, and I think this is probably what everybody would assume, that's a quarterback. I mean, that's the most high-profile position. Everybody's looking for a quarterback.
It was not.
Oh, wow.
You're right. And it was not. Not the specific one I'm speaking of, but I will tell you this. Do I think Ty Simpson had opportunities? I do. I think he's had opportunities the last couple of years that were really good opportunities for him. And I think he had one from at least a couple of SEC schools to transfer, maybe even more than one or two. There are several that, had opportunities to leave and stayed. Even Caden Proctor, if you remember, he said, I could have made more at Iowa.
But ultimately, the money in the NFL is the money you really want, and he had a better chance of being developed into an NFL player in Alabama.
I think the relationships here too.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm with you that. These kids are young. I mean, certainly money's the big factor, but I think at this age, I remember when I was in college, I wanted to be around people that were friends of mine and I was comfortable with and buddies with. And, the money's great. I'm sure in some instances it's all about the money, but and that's kind of, to me, comforting and enlightening to know that, I want the money, but I don't have to have all the money because I want to be here with my buddies, for the next 3 or 4 years as well. And we feel like we got something, heading in the right direction and could win. And speaking of Ty Simpson, I don't think it was long after the spring A-Day game, I'm seeing him standing in front of pickup trucks for car dealerships and stuff like that. So looks like his NIL deal's running pretty smoothly.
Yeah, I've seen those same things, and I think he's, I think he has gotten a new vehicle about every year, in this deal that he's had. It's pretty amazing. It really is. But, here's the thing, John and Barry, and you guys know this. These guys get, and, you could see this coming a couple of years ago when this really started, is, okay, I remember when some guys were being recruited and they wanted $400,000.
Right.
And these were top-notch players, right?
Sure.
And then now all of a sudden, 400,000 goes to $1 million.
Yeah.
And now $1 million, listen, Jackson Cantwell's the number one offensive lineman in the 2026 class out of Nixa, Missouri.
Yeah.
Right? He was looking at Alabama really heavily. But here's a guy that supposedly Drew Rosenhaus is his agent. Okay. Supposedly he wants $6 million over 3 years. That's $2 million a year, obviously. And not only that, supposedly the assurance of starting day one.
Rodney, I can just, whatever happened to the good old days when you could get a Heisman Trophy quarterback for $180,000.
Stop it. Stop it. Oh,
what happened to those days? You know?
Or what about an overweight defensive lineman for 150?
Nice. Yes. That's good stuff. Rodney Orr, the Tider.
I forgot about him. You're right. Yeah, you're right about
Isn't this
that.
interesting that John did? His
I'm not
memory's
sure he
faulty.
ever saw much of that money.
No, I don't either.
If there was any at all.
Right.
Yeah. All right, I'm with you there. All right, Rodney, let our viewers and listeners know how they can get more information from you, the TiderInsider. Of course, your book, we've talked about that a lot, TITV, so much going on.
Right. It's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card right now. Or if you prefer, there is an address there to send a check. And that gives you all of our premium information. It's a little slow right now, but things are going to start picking up, John and Barry. We're going to have a big preview of the summer recruiting here in a week or two. And that's on the docket. It's coming up. And before you know it, then SEC Media Days, and we're into fall camp, which, of course, we'll be covering that full blast. And then our All Sports Forum. Now, that is where the action is right now. A lot of conversation in our community. And as far as the book, Bigger Than Bama, you can go to Amazon or you can go to rodneyorr.com and you can look that up, Bigger Than Bama, and you can get all the details there.
Always great to talk with you, Rodney. Thank you very much for the time, as always. We look forward to next week.
Here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Rodney. Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road, or call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup, 288-4272. The freshest seafood direct from the Gulf is coming to the Destin Connection.
This morning at 8:30 in the morning on Thursday, they have got fish. They've got seafood at the Destin Connection that was swimming around in the Gulf yesterday.
Oh, you better believe it.
Right now, this morning.
Yes.
I mean, these fish are swimming around, loving life, and the next morning they're on ice at the Destin Connection Seafood Market waiting for you. How cool is that?
Snapper, grouper, triple tail. I mean, you name it. They got it. Shrimp, medium, large, jumbo, crawfish, oysters. I mean, it's just so many varieties there in the display case for you to check out. Go by and see them. Make your weekend special. Make every day special with the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road, or call ahead 288-4272. Was Albert Means 250,000, Daniel?
That's what I had heard was 250,000. Which was more than 180,000. We're all talking about urban legends right here.
Yeah.
I kind of figured it was difficult because you get all these names mishmashed together, Cam Newton, Dan Mullen's wife, Tim Jackson, Albert Means with Logan Young, or
fell up the stairs
or something like that. I knew it was probably going to be difficult when Alabama signed Albert Means for whatever reason. And he shows up for camp in the summer, and he weighs about 40 pounds more than they wanted him to weigh. They had given him a list of the diet they want him to follow before he enrolls in Alabama, and they had put chicken on there. Eat a lot of chicken. They didn't say baked chicken or grilled chicken, so he ate a lot of fried chicken, and he weighed about 290, and they wanted him at 270, something like that.
Oh, well, those
always
were the
great.
days. Yep.
Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider. When we come back, I promise, the Phantom's Daily Dog.
Yeah. We're gonna do that, Barry. We got to. You can tell by the tone of my voice, but hey, these days do come. But better days are ahead. We'll get into that with a lot of detail. Brian Reynolds, RTJ down in Greenville, is going to hop on for a couple of seconds as well. Yep. And of course, the Gurn Junior's Victoryland 777 topic wheel as well.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Ford announces employee pricing on every new 24 and most new 25 Fords, and only at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, up to $5,000 below employee pricing, plus no payments for 90 days. From America, for America, at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, home of America's best-selling truck for nearly 50 years in a row, the F-150 with hundreds to choose from. The Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the Ford Bronco, all priced at thousands below invoice. And pack up the crew in a Ford Expedition or a Ford Explorer for the beach, the lake, or the big game. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars.
It doesn't matter if you're running drills at the park, playing pickup on a Saturday, or sinking the final putt. When you compete with your friends with Michelob Ultra on the line, competition isn't that friendly. The trash talk, next level. And the stakes, oh, those are crystal clear. With only 95 calories and superior smooth taste, it's the ultimate trophy. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. Okay, back at it here on this Thursday. We're not going to beat around the bush. Mama said there'd be days like this.
There'd be days like this, Mama said.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give you a lot of backstory. Was I seriously considering the Knicks yesterday? Yes, I was.
I can tell you that for sure, because John was reading the Phantoms communique, thinking, I may supersede that one, but we went with what the Phantom said.
Yeah, we did. Not to say we didn't have a little on that, but hey, that's not what people want to hear. So yeah, it was ugly.
No, yeah.
No doubt it was ugly. The Nuggets never in the game. They were down big early, and it just got worse and worse. So the Phantoms' win streak of 8 in a row comes to an end last night. But, Barry, that just means it's time for a fresh start.
Yep. Sure, the Thunder set an NBA playoff mark for first half points.
Yeah, they did.
They had 87 in the first half.
And people say, do they play defense in the NBA? Well, if you watch that game last night, they didn't. No,
did not.
No, they didn't.
149-106. Oklahoma City wins by 43.
When you're like at about the, 8-minute mark of the fourth quarter, and you got like a 30-point lead. I mean, what are you doing out there? I mean, I'm sure some of the backups are going, wow, man, I'm going to get a little PT tonight.
This is spoken as somebody who's lived that life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right. Here we go.
I used to be over there going, you'd have guys on the bench, their heads down. They're kind of jonesing. They're going, man, this is embarrassing. I'm over going, man, this is great. I'm about to get in. You kidding me? Yeah. I hope this team keeps blowing us out.
Yeah. Now, is this also true? That in the world of the Phantom, if you got a loser there and you lose by a half a point, or you lose by one, and that pick, that carries the exact same value as if your team loses by 43, right?
Well, here's the
either you do or you don't. The margin of how close you are to doing it or not doing it really doesn't matter, right?
No. Well, Barry, a couple of items here. Yeah. Number one, the Nuggets didn't cover for me, so I'm glad they got embarrassed and blown out. Good for them. I wish they'd have lost by 60. So they're doing me no good, no favors, just losing. But whether you lose, and there again, if you lose by a point, you've had to sit there through the entire game to watch that. You've had to go through all that, and then that just agony. At the end, you go, ooh, I was so close, and I lost it at the buzzer by a point. At least with the game last night, you knew by halftime the game was over.
Yeah.
So you could move on. You didn't have to sit there and go through the agony of it. But most important, Nuggets, I'm glad it went that way. You embarrassed me, so I'm glad you got embarrassed too.
There you go. All right.
So you deserve it. So tonight, Barry, we're going
all that water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge. Now, I know Steph Curry is questionable. Might even be
hamstring.
Out, I believe.
He is out for about for a week, maybe 3 games.
Yeah, so it could be interesting without Steph tonight as they go into Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. It's almost like they're begging you here, Barry. I mean, they're going, Steph's out of the game. He's not playing. How do you
Anthony Edwards is playing at a high level for the Wolves.
How do you handicap this game? Look, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. That's one of the Phantom's golden rules. Just don't overthink it. We're taking Golden State tonight, who leads this series already 1-0.
Whoa, okay.
They are begging you to take Minnesota tonight, minus Steph Curry. We're not falling for it, Barry. We are not falling for this one bit. We're taking Golden State plus the 10.5 tonight on the road on TNT, 7:30 tonight. We are going with Golden State.
Now, that's the Phantoms dog of the day. We'll have another one tomorrow when John will be live at
Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville.
Yeah, there you go. So we're having that. Also, we're heading into the weekend, and that means things are going to be jumping all along the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, John.
You better believe it. Our man Brian Reynolds, the director of golf at Cambrian Ridge on the RTJ Trail, joining us here this morning. I know they've been very busy, a lot of tournaments, a lot of functions going on down there at Cambrian Ridge, and I know Brian wants to invite our viewers and our listeners to come down and see him. How you doing today, Brian?
We're doing great, man. Just having a relaxing day where there's not 300 people here today. Just, I think the chances of rain kind of ran some people off this week, even though it's a beautiful week. But for those people who, for the last month and a half, have been trying to get tee times and there were none available, give us a shout. It's a lot of our package play is starting to settle down now, getting ready to move into our summer months. So tee times are available on the weekend again now for local players and things like that. So give us a shout.
Well, the weather is fantastic. You get a couple of showers here and there, but normally don't stay around very long. And with the springing up, I know your golf course is really looking good, greening up, beautiful flowers. It's just a great golfing experience all around.
That's right. Courses are in great shape. We've hosted all the ASHAA qualifiers for the state tournament.
Yeah.
We just had the Alabama State the men's 4-ball championship last week. So they were here 4 days in a row, and just we had players from all over the state, 100 players. They were raving about the course conditions, the green speeds. They were just they were in awe about how good this golf facility is right now. So come take a look at it. It's in the same shape we had it for them. We just gave them our daily course routine on greens cuttings. We're keeping those greens running 10.5, 11 on the stimp meter, and the golf course is great.
So how do our viewers and listeners get tee times? I know they can go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge, but what's that phone number?
Yeah, if you can't do it that way, just give us a shout at 382-9787.
They find they do have a couple of openings, so you better jump on them because they do go quickly at Cambrian Ridge on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
Yep. They certainly do, and get your group together. What about merchandise and equipment? I know that's coming into the pro shop, Brian.
That's right. We've got all the newest stuff out from all the companies. We're continuing to get apparel, shoes. We got boxes coming every week.
Nice. Nicely done. We appreciate you, Brian Reynolds, Cambrian Ridge, Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, buddy. Man, they have been hosting a ton of events down there. And you mentioned the high school tournaments, the men's 4-ball. It's a great venue to contest, whether it's just a little social gathering with your buddies that you're trying to get into their wallet and drink a couple of pops while you're out on the course, or you're really grinding and really playing some serious golf.
All right, I got to admit, I don't know enough about golf as I should. I thought I knew a lot. When I think men's four ball, I'm thinking a sideshow at the circus. What is the men's four ball?
It's a best ball. I mean, you got four players. Right. You know, you got four guys, two teams, two-man teams, and it's a best ball event. You put the best score on the card, which.
But I bet that's a lot of fun. Yeah,
it is a lot of fun, Barry. Scrambles. I'm not a big fan of scrambles. I know there's a lot of that going on this time of year with corporate outings and whatnot. But
right,
you got this D player that can't hit it off the tee, and you're sitting there going, I got to spend 4 hours with this guy. I mean, really?
And meanwhile, it's the same guy who can't hit it off the tee, who couldn't come within 10 feet of a putt. But he's also the guy that's waggling and addressing and plumb bobbing and throwing grass in the air. And you're like, just hit it.
When that guy gets over a putt and lines it up and looks at you and he says, I think this thing's breaking like 2 inches. Don't argue with him. Don't say no.
Absolutely dead on, buddy. Yeah.
Don't say 3 inches or don't say nope, it's going left, not right. Whatever he says.
That's another minute and a half.
Agree with it. Just say, because there again, it doesn't matter what you tell him, he ain't going to make the putt anyway.
That's right. He's going to roll 15 feet past or, 15 feet short or whatever. Just move on. Well, when we come back, we'll move on. It's the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel next with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust. Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. Okay, back at it here, about 18 minutes to the top of the hour. Barry mentioned it yet. Tomorrow I'm at Stivers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Prattville. Where will you be tomorrow?
Well, I will be in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow. We're leaving right after the show today, and we're in Collierville, Tennessee, which Troy baseball played and won at Sanford last night in Birmingham. We hopped right on the bus. Players didn't even shower. We got up here at about 1:15 this morning and are about to head to Jonesboro, 3-game series starting tomorrow night. Real quick before we get to the topic wheel.
Sure.
I sent this to you. Dang, if John isn't going to be right again about something.
Yeah.
Absolutely drives me nuts. This from the rumor mill.
Oh, whoa. Rumor. Okay, go ahead.
From ESPN. The report is out. The rumor is out that ESPN is reportedly willing to pay the SEC in the range of $50 million to $80 million more than they're currently paying the SEC if they would just add a 9th conference game to the college football schedule.
Well, Barry, this kind of
one more game on everybody's schedule.
Yeah,
as much as $80 million.
$80 million. And here a couple of things here. If they want to go to 10, I'm not opposed. We've already done that during the COVID year.
Enough?
We did
all
it
this winning that
year.
you're doing, John. It appears that John's about to win another one, and immediately before it even happens, he says, "Hey, before I win this one, how about a little bit more?" Oh my gosh, he's never.
If you want to go for 10, I'm not going to be opposed to it because there again, we've done it. It's okay. We've seen it can happen. But here's where I was tipped off, Barry. There again, kind of reading between the lines, looking for the signs out there. When I saw yesterday that Mississippi State's about to build a $60 million indoor practice facility, the program that has the least amount of revenue generated, I'm thinking, wait a minute. State? Where are they coming up with $60 million? Then it hit me.
Mississippi State is the only school in the membership of the Southeastern Conference that does not have an indoor practice facility. They're about to build one. Understand this, just for perspective, and then we'll get off of this and go to the topic wheel.
Think about this, Barry. 40 years after Alabama built the Hank Crisp indoor practice facility, it was about 40 years ago that Alabama built that. Actually, sooner than it was, around about 40, maybe 41 or 2. Now Mississippi State's just getting around to it. Oh, well, that's amazing.
Go ahead.
SEC,
the SEC contract with ESPN, again, just ESPN. They got contracts elsewhere. Just with ESPN, the contract is paying them from ESPN $811 million per year. And they're gonna get an extra 80, which is again roughly 10% more, just for adding a 9th conference game. Given the fact, and John knows this, that college football, the SEC in particular, has never turned down money for any reason in any way whatsoever. This is going to happen. They will discuss it. John has asked several of our guests their perspective on this. The SEC spring meetings around Memorial Day, that's going to come up. Believe me, the SEC, if the SEC ADs don't have it on their docket, I guarantee the presidents and the chancellors who are in attendance are going to say, hey, I hear about this. What about it, fellas? And then, of course, changes to the college football playoff. They won't be discussed until June. And the SEC is not going to add a 9th conference game without getting assurances from the college football playoff that they will expand. So, we'd love to have the extra $90 million, but if I play an extra SEC game and get beat, I still want a little credit, a little added credit to be able to get into the college football playoff.
Here's how this is going to play out.
Okay, hang on. Let me get a pen.
Yeah.
All right, ready. I'm ready.
The 9th conference game is coming. I've been saying it for years. It's coming. 2026, look for the 9th conference game to be a part of the schedule. And that's what they'll talk about in Destin later this month. It'll be brought up in Atlanta at Media Days. People will be wanting to know more about it. There is no worry whatsoever about the college football playoff being expanded. The only question is, why are they even considering 14? Just go ahead and make it 16. Wow. I mean, come on. Make it 16. Keep everybody happy. Add the 9th conference game and also announce the deal with a series SEC Big Ten non-conference game to kind of give you that 10th marquee game. And then you can go play Cal Baptist or whoever that school was Jason Caldwell mentioned earlier today.
Cal Baptist. Yes. It's like, back in the day when it was you had a free weekend in Tuscaloosa, which to John meant it wasn't football season. You get a bunch of your buddies together and you on a whim, you say, hey, let's go down to Destin or Fort Walton or Panama City or something. And it gets early in the morning and what? Stop in Crestview? Wait a minute. Why do you want to stop in as a Motel 6 in Crestview? You guys want, and then why? I mean, we're doing good. Let's just go to Destin. I'm not tired. Let's go. It's like 14 team college football playoff is like stopping in Crestview on the way to the beach, or
yeah, exactly.
stopping in Niceville or something like that. Just keep going.
Who are they fooling to think we're never going to get to 16? I mean, let's just do it now.
All right.
I mean, come on.
We got 5 topics waiting for us on the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel. That's coming up with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Ford announces employee pricing on every new 24 and most new 25 Fords, and only at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, up to $5,000 below employee pricing, plus no payments for 90 days. From America, for America, at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, home of America's best-selling truck for nearly 50 years in a row, the F-150, with hundreds to choose from. The Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the Ford Bronco, all priced at thousands below invoice. And pack up the crew in a Ford Expedition or a Ford Explorer for the beach, the lake, or the big game. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, back at it. About 10 minutes to go until the top of the hour. Let's see what is on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel today. Victoryland, where you can be a winner too.
Here we go. All right, anybody ready? I know Chris the Bammer is just about to
know it.
Have an accident there.
Ricky, don't lose the number. Ricky Fowler.
This is Ricky, Rickie.
Mm-hmm. Unexpected Ricky Fowler announcement. Okay, he's getting invited to the PGA Championship, but his ranking is not that great.
He's been struggling. That's that's true. He has been struggling. He's Gurn accesses Golf Magic. I'm looking at golf.com. Ricky Fowler couldn't hide his excitement about participating in the PGA Championship, despite conceding that not making it to the Masters got him bleeped off.
Yeah.
He's 125th in the global rankings. Ricky Fowler has not been killing it lately, but he has secured his spot at Quail Hollow for the PGA Championship after falling short of direct qualification. He's broken into the top 10 in only 1 out of 26 events played. That was in 2024. This year, 2025, 9 tournaments, no top 10s. So they give him a special dispensation so Ricky Fowler can now play at the PGA Championship. Why?
Yeah, they do that. Sponsor
they like his hats?
Things of that. Barry, I equate it to a 9-game conference schedule. The networks want Ricky Fowler in the field.
There you go. Where's my head? Of course, that's why. He's not any good. He's stunk out loud, but people will just look at him because he's Ricky Fowler. Is Ricky Fowler Sam Snead? Is he Ben Hogan? Is he Nicholas or Trevino or Player or Arnie or Tiger? He's Ricky Fowler. Why don't anybody want to watch him?
I guess because he wears orange pants and orange shirts. I mean,
go watch the Vols in the fall.
I think he won the Players. Maybe that's the biggest event he's won. Never won a major.
Ricky
Range Pro says he's completely irrelevant on the tour. I don't,
kidding. That's like John jonesing all of a sudden. It's a shame that Auburn has never played Northern Illinois. It's the same thing. Instead of Notre Dame, Ricky Fowler is Northern Illinois. All right, there we go. That's a good one. Good get there, Gurn. Thank you.
Yeah, very good there, Gurn. Appreciate that
All
a
right,
lot.
let's hit it again.
Let's do it. Let's see what's going on. Victoryland 777 topic wheel ready to go. What you got, Gurn? Spin it away. And it is Troy. The Troy Trojans. Yep. Barry's on the road with Troy as we speak.
Troy baseball wins last night against Sanford in Birmingham, 11-7. Troy now 20 games over 500 as we speak. Again, we left last night. By the way, Troy's RPI is number 43 right now, which I think they dropped a spot despite the win. Give me a break. A really good shape to get into the NCAA tournament as an at-large. Again, we're outside Memphis right now, fixing to drive to Jonesboro, Arkansas. 3-game series against the Arkansas State Wolves starting tomorrow night at 6, Saturday night at 6, and Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock on the Troy campus right now. Troy last night fell in the opening round of the Sun Belt Conference softball tournament being held at the Troy softball complex on Elm Street, just on the other side of the vet. So Troy is out, but the softball tournament continues on. 4 games today in the quarterfinals. More information on that available at sunbeltsports.org.
Yeah, great stuff. A lot of stuff going on. Yep. Big weekend for the Trojans, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, it's big.
Right. And where's the Sun Belt baseball tournament again?
Riverwalk Stadium, Montgomery, Alabama. It's a 6-year deal. Man, when they signed that deal, I lit a candle. It was great. Oh,
awesome.
Tear in my eye. Makes it so much easier on your boy here. Yes.
I bet. All right. Let's spin it. Spin that wheel, Gurn. Let's get it going here on a little roll.
And by the way, the tournament begins now in less than 2 weeks at Riverwalk Stadium. So there you go.
Oh, man.
Not running.
Wait a minute.
John's Blazer in college. Oh, yeah.
Woo. Wait a minute. We got to go for the Triple Crown. What is this? Horse sick or something?
What's happening is Sovereignty is the name of the horse that won the Kentucky Derby. But his owners and his trainers are skipping the Preakness. This day and age, the Preakness is too close behind the behind Kentucky Derby. And you can't really expect horses, especially horses nowadays, which have been so much thoroughbred and so much, as asked of them in training and all that kind of stuff, to run 2 big old long races in that close of proximity as well. So to be honest, the trend is that the Triple Crown is just not doable anymore in terms of horse safety and all that. Sovereignty will be the 4th of the last Derby winners who will have skipped the chance at the Triple Crown by not racing 2 weeks later at Pimlico in the Preakness. So that's becoming a thing of the past more often than not.
Wow. That is interesting. That's kind of like, losing to your in-state rival, but still going on to win the national championship.
Not a bit like it, but I get what you're saying. It's just like, playing the Iron Bowl and then 4 days later having to play on the road in Atlanta. Well, that's just not that much time.
That could happen. You could play the Iron Bowl and then have to face off in the SEC championship game a week later.
Yeah, that's not a whole lot of recovery time. Oh, especially if you
Which I'd love.
This is more.
I hope to see that sometime in my lifetime, Barry. And there again, you know me, I'm going to stretch it out even further. I want the Iron Bowl, the SEC championship, and a playoff appearance amongst the 2 teams as well. 3 times, same season.
Again, in the space of 20 minutes, John says, I got what I want, but I immediately want more. Give me as much as is possibly humanly available, and that's what I want. Gurn Jr. wants us to hit then. Yeah, greed is good. Let's go back to the wheel. Here we go.
Spin it, Gurn. Let's see what we got. Oh, yeah. Heck yeah, we do. Let's spin the wheel. 2 more to go. Exit 22 off I-85. Shorter, Alabama. Victoryland open 24/7. Gabe Davis.
Yes. Gabe is a wide receiver in the NFL. I'm not sure.
The Jags let it go?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Uh-oh.
See, he's a Jacksonville guy.
Yeah.
He's from Fernandina Beach. Yeah.
Duval.
Duval. Yeah, he played for many, many years for the Buffalo Bills out of UCF. And then he went to the Bills, and he was good.
Yep.
With the Bills. I don't know what the deal is. But Davis signed a 3-year, $39 million contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars a year ago, March. 14 months after signing him. I think it's partly it's because of his knee, which was kind of a risk. Again, they signed him a year ago, tore meniscus in his left knee. That's why he didn't play last year. And now they've released him. Part of it's because of his knee. Partly because when he wasn't in there last year, LSU wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. tore it up. And also, they picked Travis Hunter this year. So
yeah, they did. Ooh.
I think it cost them about $10 million in a bonus and $10 million in options and buyouts. So they take a little bath financially, but they're not going to miss him, I don't think, on the football field. He could have helped. So. Yeah.
Real world situation. Need to learn about those in college. It's just hard.
If you don't get to play, you get a chance for somebody to come behind you, like Brian Thomas, who had a terrific year last year, and all of a sudden they well, we don't really need you as badly as we thought you did.
Certainly don't.
Yes.
All right, let's spin the last one, Gurn, to make it official here on our Victoryland 777 topic. We'll open 24/7 Shorter, Alabama, where you can be a winner too, and it's going to land on
Mammoth.
Mammoth.
Are we talking about Dolly Parton? What?
Mammoth.
Oh, no.
Ooh,
Utah has had an NHL franchise, but they've always just been called the Utah Hockey Club, kind of like, the Washington Football Club. They are the Utah Mammoth.
Barry, I got to tell you, I did not know this is an NHL team.
Yeah, they've been playing. I mean, they've been in the league.
Yeah, I do like the logo of the state with Utah in it. That on the far right, that's kind of nice. That's kind of neat.
It doesn't make any sense. The Mammoth is extinct. And I'll tell you this as well. They don't play a whole lot of jazz in Utah. So they're they're two professional franchises.
That's a good point. They got two franchises.
Both got dumb names.
Their mascot makes no sense.
The Utah Mammoth. I like their colors. I like their jersey. I actually like the logo. But the Mammoth?
Is there a difference between a mammoth and a woolly mammoth?
A woolly mammoth, I don't know. You know why I don't know? Because they haven't been around for 50 million years. And now all of a sudden it's the cool thing. Okay, sure.
All right, tomorrow, Barry will be on location yet again. I will be on location as well at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. I believe, Barry, the mayor might be scheduled to join us tomorrow. I'll double check that later this morning and see, but I believe he is going to join us tomorrow as well. We got a lot of other topics to get to as well. So we're going to be busy tomorrow on the program. Think of important stretches. I'm not talking about warming up, getting those, those calves glutes and those hamstrings, but it's another way of looking at important stretches, and that'll be something we'll be touching on tomorrow.
Well, we're glad we're able to touch on a few hot topics with Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider at TiderInsider.com. Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com as well. In association, he's John Longshore. Thanks to our producer, Gurn Jr. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.